Welcome to my Quote of the Day series. I start my live content with a quote and a story about why it's important to me in the moment. I share my experiences in case it may help someone else on their journey. You never know when someone might need the message you share today. I also want to thank you for spending time with me, for subscribing if you choose, and sharing your stories too. So let us get to the quote of the night. Night? It's not night where I'm at. The quote of now. The quote of the stream. The quote of whenever you're seeing this or wherever you are. I'm in a kind of an odd mood. All right. Focus. The quote of the day. The quote of the day is, "With pride, there are many curses. With humility, there come many blessings." And that is from Ezra, Taft, Benson. And the reason that I chose this quote is because I had a revelation today. I was actually in a fight with Dreamlight Valley before I started streaming because I was like, well, I'll go in and I'll clean up some Star Path duties and I'll get, this, that, and the other going on. And then by the time I'm ready to stream, I can really focus on the quests. And that worked out great. I had people to go talk to. I had people to give gifts to and all of this that we're like going to just wrap things up. So in case I get other stuff done during stream, my focus is still not the Star Path on stream because I'm actually making my way through most of, let's look at the duties. I have 85 points right now. I have, 6 quests. I just got this one, so I might try and give some gifts to Buzz while we're playing today, but I'm not going to focus on it. The only reason I think I might go ahead and give him some gifts is because that way the next time I play, I can give him some more gifts and then wrap that up. Things that take multiple days worth of effort, I try to work on when I play. So like the Night Thorns can wait, the gems can wait, the Royal To-Dos can happen. So at least that's available in case I get some. And then, but things like, it's going to take me at least 2 days to get Buzz's stuff done. But the revelation that I had this morning was one of the quests was to gift the Queen of Arendelle her favorite gifts. Now, I had already done 2, and so I was like, well, I only need to give her 2 more. So I looked, and she wanted a diamond and 2 cooked meals. And I've been having this war within myself for a while now to, I just realized I need to do one thing. Just in case. There we go. Some background music. Look at that. But this war within myself of how often I want to, like, how frustrated do I want to let myself get before I go and Google the actual Dreamlight Valley recipe for meals. And I really try hard not to do that. I really try hard to look up a real life recipe and try and like figure out what it would take to make the different meals, which has worked out really well for a lot of cuisine I'm not familiar with. A lot of times they will take, like, you'll look at like 4 or 5 different recipes and they'll all have like a core set of ingredients. And then depending on the recipe, they'll have like, I used butter or I used oil or I used, like they'll change up some of the, like the side components, but like, if it's a chicken dish, it's going to have chicken. If it's got pasta in it, it's going to have wheat. If it's got whatever, it's going to, they have like core ingredients. And it's worked for several recipes. There are some recipes where it's like, there's like 8 core ingredients and they only want 3 ingredients in this recipe. Okay, which are the core that they're focusing on out of these 8? And then a little bit of trial and error will get you there. And then there are some recipes where there are, core ingredients and suddenly they throw in some other random crap, seemingly so, or it'll be the core ingredients, but then this weird thing. Or you'll look at the picture. And I told my husband about it. I was ranting to my husband about it this morning. He was very kind to listen to me. But I'm going to go in and actually look at it because there's a recipe that's called pasta. And when you look at the picture for pasta, it looks like a plain bowl of pasta. There might be, like, it almost looks like there might be like Parmesan cheese on top, or like maybe some parsley flakes or something. Like, It's got a little hint of green, but like, just kind of a sprinkling, almost like decoration. And the recipe for pasta, wheat, because obviously it's made with wheat, and tomato. Now, it doesn't have sauce on it in the picture. So looking at the picture, you think it's just the noodles. But there were two ingredients. And for the longest time, I'm looking at the picture and going, is it butter? Is it oil? Is it cheese? Is it, whatever? No, it's tomato and wheat, but the picture doesn't seem to reflect that there's any kind of red sauce, which it would have to be if it was tomato. I don't know of any like white tomatoes that would make a white sauce. All the white sauces I am familiar with in Italian cuisine have like a milk and cheese situation going on. They're an Alfredo situation. So anyway, I have learned that the picture is unreliable because sometimes things look like a garnish on the plate and they're not in the recipe, and sometimes they're in the recipe and they're technically part of the anyway, they're inconsistent with their picture. So like Mushu's kanji, I'm actually looking at that one right now. Another perfect example. In the picture, it looks like it's a bowl of rice with bacon and eggs on it. That's what it looks like. Now, at the time, there was no meat in the game. There was fish and seafood, but not actual like meat, like beef, pork, or chicken, poultry. So I was like, well, how are you getting this picture with no bacon? Like, there's no meat. So what did you use? I think they use mushrooms. Am I looking at that right? Yeah, mushrooms. So I found like really good kanji recipes, and all the other ingredients looked like the kanji recipe except for mushrooms. And I'm just like, okay, but that doesn't match the picture because the picture has bacon. Anyway, it's fine. I have learned to have a love-hate relationship with trying to figure out the recipes. But today I was getting super fed up because the two recipes I needed to work on for Anna's gifts were pesto with linguine, which is a 4 ingredient recipe. And then, what is it? A chicken souvlaki. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's not in here. It's in the other one. So it's chicken souvlaki. I'm trying my best without Googling it, which I usually do, but we'll just go with it for today because that's just the mood I'm in. Anyway, so it obviously has chicken, right? Because it's a chicken recipe. And then it's a 4 ingredient recipe. And I was like, well, it's from Eternity Isle. So obviously the poultry is from Eternity Isle. And then when I was looking up recipes, most of them had garlic, most of them had lemon, most of them had salt and pepper, which aren't in the game. Paprika was in a couple of them. And then it's got like gyro sides, so like pita and cucumbers, onions and tomatoes, and tzatziki. And so I was like, is it just the chicken and the marinade that goes with the chicken? Is it the chicken and the sides? Is it, like I tried to throw wheat in there. I tried to throw the vegetables in there. I tried to use lemon. I tried it without all of those things. And there's no olives or olive oil in the game. So I couldn't try it with olive stuff because that's in also most of the recipes as well. And then I was like getting super pissed at that. The pesto was also pissing me off. I was doing wheat with basil, and a lot of the recipes had nuts in it, so I was trying all the different nuts. There's lemon in a lot of the recipes. I tried a creamy version, trying to use milk or butter or different things like that, and I was just getting super mad, starting to think about, I'm just going to start methodically going through all the combinations of ingredients. And then I started thinking like about that math. And it's a lot. Let me look at my list again. Oh no, I deleted the tab because I was just like, nope, not doing that now. So let me look at how many ingredients there are. There are a combination of 119 different ingredients. So I started doing the math, the gross math, not specific math, but just an idea of how many different combinations you could get with 5 ingredient slots and 119 ingredient options. And I was just like, that is absurd to just brute force your way through the combinations, especially when some things can require two of the same or two or more of the same ingredient. Like the seafood platter is what, three seafoods uh, or five something. So they could repeat the ingredients in a dish. So I was like, that's a lot. I don't even have to do the specific numbers to know that's an absurd methodology to going through and trying to get all of the recipes unlocked. So I looked up, is anybody else pissed off about this recipe situation? And the answer is yes. Now, the Reddit thread I found was from a year ago, so it was still in early access. I think it might have even been before Eternity Isle came out, but people were griping about the missed opportunity of trying to puzzle out the ingredients and the recipes, or doing things that would unlock at least hints to the recipes, or unlocking the recipes themselves. Like you start the game and you're discovering recipes, and there's like, you find recipe books and things like that, and then it just drops off. And then even lately, Remy, and I haven't pursued a lot of Remy's cooking quests lately, but when they said they were going to be doing that, I was like, oh, great. He'll start giving you recipes so that you can fulfill these quests. And then specifically, Remy tells you, I'm not going to just give you these recipes. And I was like, what? Like, what? Now, I have occasionally gotten some mail from Remy where he'll be like, here's some ingredients, and then there's at least one, like, there's another ingredient you need to figure out. I like that. I like the idea of doing questing that involves figuring out recipes. I like the idea of somebody brought up hints. Have a daily conversation with people to have them give you hints about recipes that are from, like Mirabelle could give you recipes that are from her, culture. Like they're like some really interesting things that people brought up that you could do, because I actually really like going, I've never even heard of this recipe. What does it look like? Ooh, that sounds yummy. Maybe I'll try and find that someday, or try and make it someday, or seek it out so I can try it, cuz I love food. Like in real life, I like to eat, and a lot of these recipes I look at, I'm like, that looks freaking delicious. And then I'm trying to figure out the recipe, and then I get pissed off. But because the game, most recipes have more than five ingredients. And a lot of times the ingredients they pick aren't like what you would think of as the core just by Googling. Because somebody mentioned that. It's like Google the recipes for real life and then try and figure it out from there, which works sometimes, but not always. So going back to today's examples, that the chicken souvlaki and the pesto with linguine. I don't know how many different combinations I tried for both of those recipes, trying all the ingredients that were like the same in each of the real life recipes I looked up, and couldn't figure it out. Googled this thread, found out other people being pissed off about it, and it's like somebody was like, I think the start of the thread was, there's nobody that could have 100% just like educated guessed all of the recipes. Like some of these recipes, there's just no way you would have been like, oh, I know what that is. Hors d'oeuvres was one of the first ones that really irritated me, because it's one ingredient and it's any spice. And in the picture, it looks like a cracker with like leaves on top. So it could be basil, it could be oregano, it could be whatever. But it's one ingredient and it's just any spice. And it's like, well, that doesn't look like the picture. The puree bothered me for a long time because it's one ingredient, it's potatoes. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you just call that mashed potatoes? Puree could be any vegetable pureed. It's like you could have a carrot puree, you could have a cauliflower puree. Not that we had cauliflower, but it just seemed disconnected for some, I mean, even super basic recipes. There were things that I tried to figure out for the longest time. The pasta one was one where I was just like, what? Um, so there's like a disconnect on some of them, obvious. Let's see. I'm looking right here. Mac and cheese is wheat and cheese. Yes. It's got pasta in it, so wheat, and it's got cheese in it, so cheese. Perfect sense. But the two today, and the ones that I finally was like, if I'm going to make a concerted effort, and if I make a concerted effort and I look up real world recipes and I try my best to like mix and match the combinations of things and work my way through the problem, and I still get zero results, I'm not gonna feel any shame anymore in looking it up, because I've been battling with that I don't know, for a year and a half now, where I don't want to Google it. I can do this. I can figure it out. You know, and then after trying to, how would I Iron Man, how would I, brute force my way through the problem? And I started doing the math and I was like, this is dumb. There's probably somebody on the internet who's already done this. Like, I don't need to be that person. I don't need to be that person. I can just go, you know what? I did my best to try and figure it out, and I just don't have the time or the energy or the patience to just brute force my way through some things. And I'm going to tell you what the two recipes are. So if you don't want spoilers on recipes you may not have figured out on your own, the recipes I tried to figure out was the chicken souvlaki, and the recipe is poultry, lemon, mint, and paprika. And I was like, I would never have tried mint ever. Not in a million years. Not in any of the recipes I looked at. Because, first of all, go back to, is it just the chicken and like the marinade to make the chicken? Or is it also the sides? So the cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, tzatziki, olives, which aren't in the game. And then it's like, okay, I didn't even realize that there were some versions of tzatziki that were made with mint. Apparently there are. There are some that make it with dill, and there are some that make it with mint. So there are some that make it with both. But mint would never have entered into my consideration. Like, just from my very much removed, I've never made my own tzatziki. I'm not terribly familiar with a ton of Greek cuisine. So it would have taken like layers of research for me to even get to a point of and when I think of tzatziki, I don't initially think of just the components in it, like apart from like the dairy component. So because I even tried that, I was like, okay, there's no yogurt, but there's milk. Maybe that is the tzatziki representative in this recipe, because there's only 4 ingredients, and I would never. And if I did finally get to mint before I started just trying to put everything into a recipe to try and get it, I don't think I would have picked mint. Um, maybe if I was like, well, what goes into a tzatziki? What different kinds of tzatziki are there? Like, it would have just taken a lot to get there for me. And maybe it's just a me thing because I am not as familiar with variations in Greek cuisine. But looking at the basic recipes, this is not what I would have come up with. And the one that's even more frustrating. So that one, that could be a cultural difference. I mean, I'm also not Italian, but I am more comfortable and familiar with Italian cuisine. And that is the pesto with linguine. And I have a real beef with this one because the basic components of all pesto is pasta and basil. Like, you Google it and that's what makes pesto pesto is basil. You can have other things in there. I tried garlic, I tried cheese, I tried, like I said, I tried a bunch of different combinations of, like, pesto is a basic dish, y'all. It's got some basic stuff. So it was even less complicated than the other one. And the recipe for pesto with linguine in Dreamlight Valley is wheat, butter, garlic, and oregano. And even more so than the other dish, I would never have gotten here because I would always assume that it would have to have wheat and it would have to have basil, and that the other two components were the components that I was struggling with. I even tried to put more than one slot of basil in because I was like, all pestos have basil. Now, you can put an oregano in, and you can make an oregano pesto. I even looked that up specifically. And I was just like they were like, traditionally a pesto is made with basil, but you can do a variation with oregano pesto. And I was like, it's not called oregano pesto. What the hell are you talking about? So I would never have gotten this unless I was just brute forcing my way through the recipes. And so I was just like, these are two examples right now where I'm going to give it my best effort. I'm going to try multiple combinations. I'm going to try multiple real world recipe inspiration. But if I can't get it in, depending on how far my patience lasts, 10, 20 attempts, then I'm just gonna Google it. I'm done. I'm done needing to be the person that figures it out, because if they're not gonna give me hints, if they're not gonna give me quests, if they're not gonna give me um assistance in that, then it just becomes a tedious, frustrating, labor intensive, resource intensive. I don't have time to try up to 5 different ingredients, 119 ingredients, options for these. Like, I'll give it my best effort, and if I can't figure it out, I'm just going to Google it. So, there's my humility, there's my being humble. I can bow down to the fact that someone else has already done that work, and thank you to whoever figures these out, because yeah, I was just astounded with these recipes this morning. I was so irritated. And so I was like, you can just let go of that person. You don't need to be that person. Someone else is already that person. And I thank you to whoever has figured that out and posted it on the internet, because yeah, they need to do something to make it not this much of a problem, because I am not the only one. And maybe I haven't gotten to the points of Remy's quests, like food quests yet, that will help me get to some of these recipes. But I really like the idea of having different cultures' recipes in here and being like inspired to try new food or try new seasonings or try new combinations of things. Like, I think that could be a really interesting, like, real life takeaway from this game, to be like, that sounds delicious. That looks amazing. Like, I know I can't. I have access to these basic ingredients. I could try this at home and just see what happens. I could seek out a restaurant, or, you know, ask a friend who I know is whatever the culture of the dish you're looking at. Like, I think that could be an interesting way to bring people together in real life from a cozy little Disney game. But making it this frustrating um, just defeats a lot of the positivity that could come from that. And until they figure out a way to make it more exciting, more engaging, more fun, I'm just gonna Google it. I'm just gonna Google it. I'm gonna let my pride go, and I'm just gonna Google it. So anyway, that was my very, very long rant about being irritated this morning and why I'm running late. And it's even making me later now because I'm still freaking thinking about it. But I got Anna's thing done, and that was the goal. And I no longer have to dicker about figuring out recipes in the game, because I've just decided. Just decided. All right. Now that it's out of my system, and in case you are also like, this is frustrating, just let it go. It's some of these recipes are just ridiculous. And the game does nothing to help you. At least not that I have discovered. Thanks for dropping in. If you want to hang out, I stream live on Twitch and YouTube Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. I'll see you next time.